If you owe...
TAM KBDT proudly presents Life Solutions, coaching, counseling, naturopathic medicine, insights for successful living, and getting better with Ann Beal.
Hello, everyone. This is Getting Better with Ann Beal, but Ann Beal is watching us from the sound booth today.
How you doing, Ann?
We are giving her the day off. This is Jim, and I've been with you a number of times already, and it's my pleasure to get back with you today with two good friends of mine, actually, guys who have a story to tell, but more than that, they have, God has given them a platform to address issues that people deal with every single day. They're difficult issues, and it comes out of their own experience. Greg Matthews, welcome to you today. We call him Greg Matthews Esquire, but he didn't want to mention that. And then I have John King with me today, John A. King, Dr. John A. King. And both of these guys are experts in the field of trauma, dealing with trauma in a person's life, PTSD. A lot of John's experience has to do with human trafficking even, which is a field that we're hearing more and more about all the time these days. And so John has had an opportunity to speak to that issue and has been a part of some filmmaking that highlights that, spots that, and talks about that, bringing it to public attention. Both of you guys, and by the way, Greg, it seems to me as I think about you, your life is filled with trauma. I mean,
well, I am definitely a recipient of trauma.
We are gonna talk, and this is just going to be a.
And Jim, hey, if I can, just one thing,
yeah.
like Jim made the statement, we're experts at trauma. I think we're experts at turning poo into fertilizer. I think that's what we're doing. Is we've managed to grow good. And Jim is probably the foremost coach on that. So if you've got some issues out there, you need this fella.
Thank you.
He helps us all.
I appreciate that. The things that I've learned, though, about trauma and working through trauma, developing maybe a more healthy life and lifestyle in light of trauma and PTSD and those issues, I've learned from you guys. I've learned from you guys. And so
thank you.
You have been really, really important to me. God has brought you into my life when the time was right. And now I feel like we're kind of colleagues together in this, and I really, really appreciate you. Greg, I was going to say, I don't even know, I hardly know where to start with you, but, you have been in positions, fugitive recovery. You've been in, you were a 9/11 first responder.
Yes, sir.
Good night. How much more trauma could you have than that? Well, you had more trauma, at least a lot of trauma beyond that. You have worked, the truth is, I don't know how much I can say about what you do without fearing that you'll kill me.
Yeah. And if he tells me, he's going to kill you. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
anyway.
The thing I always say to people when we get on talking about these things is we're all wounded, and we're all going through elements, different levels of what we call PTSD. And it's not just being a combat vet, which that is something that I focus on with my story, because our patriots, our military is something I really cherish and respect, law enforcement, all those folks. But we all have levels of trauma and wounding that we have to deal with. And so I'm glad to be here with you today. Thank you.
I think that's a really good point too, mate, because about 60% of Americans will experience post-traumatic stress at some point in their life. And, it's a simple definition. Anything after a trauma, post, and there's a stress that's caused by it is PTS. It's the PTSD that is long-lasting, anything beyond 6 months. So your point is really valid. So many people, everyone at one point in their life will either deal with an issue that has a devastating effect or knows someone. So these are lessons for life. These are tools that we can all use and we can all apply.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And that's something, the reason I say that is because sometimes you get people on TV or on the air that have gone through something really, really devastating.
Yeah.
And they're thinking, well, my issues of what I've gone through don't even compare to that. I can't even relate to that. But what I will tell you is that woundings that impact your life or your entire life are things that you can overcome, and are things that, at least from my perspective, there is no real difference. We're all hurting. We're all going through through things, and we're all being impacted by, often ugly things that we've gone through in our life.
Yeah, for sure. Here's something that's interesting to me, and at one point, I think it would be helpful to the people who are listening today to at least hear something of your, not all the details necessarily, but something of your stories, what has brought you here today to be able to address these issues. And so I'd like to do that. But I wanted to say before we get too much further, is that this is going to be a fairly, I like to look at it as kind of a casual dialogue or interaction with you guys.
Right.
And, the truth is we have thought our way through it a little bit, but it's not like we have a real agenda, except we have a topic and we have kind of some direction about where we want to go. I would like for people who are listening to know more about the impact of trauma, PTSD, what that is, and if they suspect that they have it, if they have the symptoms that may be consistent with PTSD, that they know where to start doing something about it, and those kinds of things. And so you guys are guys that can help me with that, help us today with that. But when I was teaching at the seminary, I used to get some guys together at lunchtime, and we'd brown bag lunch it. We just call it brown bag theology.
Yeah, perfect.
And we and it wasn't anything planned or prepared or anything. My students wanted to know what I thought off the top of my head about stuff, right?
That's great.
And so that we would talk about theology or current issues or just life stuff, life problem, whatever. Just to get to know each other better and seek God's face together.
So this is like brown bag therapy.
This is brown bag trauma, brown bag therapy, brown bag something.
And that's why I showed up, because I got two, I don't want to say experts, because we were told there's no experts, but I have some folks that understand, because I'm still trying to walk it out myself.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I always will be, but I'm starting to find tools that take the sting away, that allows me to move forward.
And if there's people on Instagram Live and Facebook Live, if you'd like to call in with your questions, the number is 214-810-8255, and we'll post that. We'll pin that for you on Instagram.
Yeah, thank you, John. Appreciate that. Yeah, we'll do that. Christy is running the sound booth for us today. She talked about an expert. She is an expert at what she does. And
thank you,
Christy. You make us look good and sound good and all that, so we appreciate you very, very much. Greg, maybe you could... something very unique, I mean, it seems unique to me, happened to you about 4 or 5 years ago, and you wrote a book about it. You've said over and over that your life is not about the book, but people have gone wild over the Wild Awakening book, right? And I want to mention John's too, because John has a very, very important, impactful book out about trauma and PTSD. But start with you, Greg, and just a little bit about what makes you able to address the issue we're talking about today.
Well, thank you for having me today. It is
Absolutely.
an honor and a privilege, and I appreciate being able to sit here and talk candidly about this stuff. I have written a book, Wild Awakening, and the whole book encapsulates an event that did cause some PTSD in me. I was brutally mauled by a 800-pound or 600-pound, 8.5-foot grizzly up in Alaska while bow hunting. It was very traumatic, and when I got back, when I told the story to people, I had so much had happened to me physically and emotionally. I just couldn't find anybody who understood what I had gone through. I'd gone 6.5 hours of reconstructive surgery on my face and my head, and then having the trauma of having that apex predator on me and dragging me into the brush and picking me up, and it was very, very traumatic. And I thought I had been able to deal with my past, being a firefighter for 21 years. I've seen pretty much every single way that people can die.
Yeah.
And I've been exposed to that. And but it wasn't until I got home and there was some sleepless nights. There was every time I closed my eyes, I saw those fangs lunging for my neck. It was very, very difficult to process it, and so then I began to write.
Yeah.
And that was my outlet for being able to process it. And I'm just going to be candid with all your listeners. I'm still wounded in these ways. I still have PTSD, but like I said, I'm finding tools to be able to bring it into the light, to expose it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people, they live in their own created prison cells, and each one of those events become the bars and keep them stuck in that. And another thing that I felt was that although a grizzly attack, there's not many have been attacked by a grizzly, I understand it, but we get into a mode where we think we are the only one in the world going through this. And so we have scars that look back at us in the morning, looking at from the mirror, both physical and emotional, that we never talk to anybody about. And so what I will tell you is my book focuses on the attack. I will take you there. If you want to know what it's like to be attacked by a grizzly for over 2 minutes, it is there. But most importantly, I was healed through that attack in a lot of ways, from a father wound and some other stuff that there is hope. And it comes through what we invest in, where we choose to find our identity, and it all is a foundation of relationships. And that's what I'm finding now, sir.
I think you said a really interesting thing. People can't relate to the 2-minute attack by a grizzly. Absolutely. In my case, with being sexually abused by my parents for over a decade, very few people can. And I found in my dealings with veterans and firefighters and coppers is that we can get a commonality around the issue of overcoming trauma. And I think if people relax and stop to be don't want to be a unique victim, but want to be a familiar overcomer, I think that's where, and I really am looking, I gave you curry about the fact that I've already given Greg a copy of my book and paid for the beer on Friday night.
This is John's book that I specifically
and he hasn't yet given
him.
me a copy of his book yet, or paid for beers. But not that I've got issues or I'm going into that now live. But so moving back to the point is like, I know I am looking forward to it, the fact that he hasn't, but looking forward to it is because I know I'm going to learn things because I haven't been through what you've been, but you're on the other side overcoming it. And I know even talking with Jim about the stuff he's faced, helping his wife, it's been very informative to us. And I think if we, as a community of people who are striving to find tools to manage this stuff every day, we can share and swap each other's uniqueness, and we can sit and talk with a sexual abuse victim, a veteran, a firefighter, and we can share these common tools to grow and become better men and better women.
So I got a question for you, John. When you talk about being able to communicate our trauma, how important do you think it is to have a core group of people that come alongside, or even an individual that comes alongside of you, that raises up courage, that allows you to provide an opportunity to share something that we often keep secret?
I'm not sure I quite understand it. I know in my personal life, my wife Melissa has given me permission and a platform from which I can share it. I think when I'm talking to other people, like when we met for the first time and we talked, it's especially when you're talking to men, like women talk face to face, men talk shoulder to shoulder. So you try and find that commonality. And in order to gain trust, you've got to give trust. So I shared a little bit of my story, you shared a little bit of yours, and we go through that. And I think in a private setting, that's the way that you do. Is that speaking?
That's exactly what I was talking about, because that's what I found in my own life. Is I have a core group of 2 or 3 men that I can come alongside, and as we share more, as we bring it into the light, it raises up more courage for others around to be able to share their wounds.
That's a really good point, and I've found that with a lot of the veterans, but particularly with the police. We've got a minute. Okay. Well, particularly with the police, and we'll push pause, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, we have 60 seconds. It goes faster than we think. But,
okay. Well, with police, for example, they can't talk about it on the job because their jobs are in jeopardy. So I find they'll talk to me, and I can talk to them outside of that circle. So that's giving them permission to confront the things that are most important to them.
Well, and you talked about those 2 or 3 guys. You have your back deck crew, and that's the same kind of thing. These people have been very supportive. They know you, and they're a part of your life in deep ways. So
the power of communicating that pain out is amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I wanted to say your book, Greg, is a combination between Billy Graham and Stephen King, as far as I'm concerned, right? I mean, it is that kind of a book.
Well, this
awesome.
one specifically I brought for John here. He didn't realize it, so he kind of misspoke and embarrassed himself.
A little. We'll get back to you,
Greg. Say we're not getting any younger, but many thousands have felt younger after a few short months using Dr. Wallach's all-natural longevity nutritional supplements. How many times have you said one of these days I need to call Dr. Wallach and find out what I need? Well, make that day today. Here's how to get that information. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down and make the call. The information is free and there is no pressure. So do it now. That's 800-214-0065. If you face health challenges such as heart disease, arthritis, diabetes, fibromyalgia, depression, infertility, ADD or ADHD, high blood pressure, or one of hundreds of other diseases, help is available. All you have to do is make the call. You have nothing to lose but the pain and suffering. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. You've been listening to Dr. Wallach, and I bet you have some questions. We want to help. And here's how you can get the answers. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down and make the call right now. Don't wait any longer to find out how Dr. Wallach's own all-natural nutritional supplements by Youngevity can help you. Are you concerned with reducing your risk of heart disease, cancer, stroke, or high blood pressure? Help is available. Do you have arthritis, sore joints, lower back pain, or fibromyalgia? Call now. Dr. Wallach creates his own formulation so you can be sure that what is on the label is actually in the bottle. Whatever your health challenge, make this call. Thousands like you have seen results for a happier, healthier life. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Call today, 800-214-0065. Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just two of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible Youngevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
Look like you did 10 years ago. Get Casey Facelift Treatments and you will turn back the hands of time. I'm Kathy of JP Kathy and the Crew. I hate needles. The good news is with Casey Treatments, there are no needles, no downtime. It is 100% natural, non-surgical, painless, and you get long-lasting results. There are no side effects. It is your most healthy choice for a younger look. Excellent therapy for Bell's palsy, correct symmetry for the face, and highly trained, experienced therapist will meet your concerns and needs. This facelift treatment is done with a technology called Casey. It works by lifting and toning your facial muscles. This gives you a natural and instant effect. This is the perfect treatment for your wedding. Mention JP Kathy and the Crew for a $59 Casey treatment plus a free LED or microdermabrasion treatment as well. Faceliftofthestars.com 972-704-9562. Schedule your appointment today.
To admit it's getting better, a little better all the time.
And now here's more Getting Better with Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
Getting Better with Ann Beal, Jim Slaughter, Greg Matthews, and John A. King, Ph.D. John, Greg, really good to have you guys today.
We need some sound effects.
And we're just having a great time. We're just having a blast here. It's just three guys sitting around talking about stuff that they're learning about, right?
Absolutely.
And a lot of it has been by experience. And I was just saying that for these guys, each have written books and about their something about their experiences. I was telling Greg when I read his book, I thought this. I'm not sure we got this on before, but Greg's book is sort of a combination of Billy Graham and Stephen King. I mean, it is really, really. Something. It's horrible, it's horrifying, it's inspirational, it's all those things. John has one of the best, frankly, most impactful books on any topic I've ever read. And so, John, I want to thank you for what you've given us. And you've done more than that. You've got journal articles out there and all kinds of things. You're on YouTube and stuff, and I want to, have people go there and look you up about that. But at this point, we wanted to bring in just our topic for today, really, which is the topic of trauma, and we want to get into.
I've got a question for Greg.
Yes, sir.
What's the hardest thing with dealing with trauma that you have ever had to overcome or still battle with today? What's the hardest thing on a daily basis?
The hardest thing that is not being isolated, isolating myself into my own bubble and feeling like I'm the only one going through this pain, and I have to wear a smile. But nobody understands what's beyond that smile that I deal with every day.
I think mine's very similar. I just don't like going outside anymore. I just don't. I find coming here today, going out on a daily basis, is a deep breath exercise. Make sure that I'm carrying. Make sure that I'm aware of where my environment is, what's around me, and then you've got to case the joint when you get there. And you go through all those things, and you get into a habit of doing it. But I still think on a daily basis, it's getting up and getting out the front door, putting one foot forward.
Yeah, that's a good.
And I don't know if you ever overcome that altogether. I think, I don't know if you ever get over trauma. I think we learn to manage it better, or we, as Anne said very well, we overcome it every day.
Yes.
It's that daily decision to, as you said, get out the door and put on a smile.
Right. Good point. And we had Alex Kendrick on. Ann interviewed Alex Kendrick, the movie maker, the Christian movie guy, who just did Overcomer, and we were talking about the theme of overcoming. And in fact, I've interviewed him, Ann's interviewed him. But the thing is, we realize that overcoming. You're an overcomer if you're in the process of overcoming, right? I mean, that's
in the process of.
Yeah, exactly. In the process of overcoming, and so you do what you learn to do, need to do, feel like you need to do every day.
We had a question from someone on Instagram Live, and if you want to call in, the number is 214-810-8255. And Brock Doc came in and she asked, if you're having a bad day, do you take time out? How do you give yourself a chance to reset that? So, Greg?
Well, through the Grizzly attack, obviously, it was very, very traumatic for me, both physically and emotionally. But during that whole event, I was actually healed in a lot of ways. It may sound kind of, for what I do and my living and all that stuff, that the things that I've done may sound kind of sissified, but the fact is that I was deeply impacted by a father wound. My dad left the home at 8 years old. And that was a very traumatic event that impacted all of my life. So that's PTSD for me. What I do and what I have found is I cannot deal with it alone. I need to involve others. I need to communicate. I need not to isolate. And most importantly, I have a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, who is the most incredible dad in the entire world. And that's the only way I can get through that stuff.
I find when, if I'm having a bad day, and I work for myself, I work from home, and I kind of have to. I find the thought of engaging 9 to 5 is still very, very tiresome for me. I find it really difficult. I don't mind working 14 hours a day from home, but the thought of going 9 to 5 somewhere is it's still a little bit too much for me. So when I am at home and I am having a bad day, I give myself permission to have a bad day. Even if I've got appointments or things to do, it's like, okay, I'm not going to be operating maybe at my best, but I am still going to operate. And that becomes a decisional thing. And I think you do have to rest. I think you do have to take into consideration that some days are better for us than others. Absolutely. Because this whole thing is a process on learning to managing it and learn to deal with it.
Very well said, sir.
Yeah, really good point. Good point. Well, you guys have both brought out the importance of having being surrounded or in the company of people who know you, who care about you, love you, and who understand what they can do in relationship with you to help. We're just about ready to take a break here, but there are a couple more things. We want to get into some of the symptoms of PTSD when we get back. Sure. What a person does if they think they may have it, if they're having the symptoms. Where do we go from there?
And give us a call, 214-810-8255, or drop us a message.
If you're over the age,
We're not getting any younger, but many thousands have felt younger after a few short months using Dr. Wallach's all-natural longevity nutritional supplements. How many times have you said one of these days, I need to call Dr. Wallach and find out what I need? Well, make that day today. Here's how to get that information. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down and make the call. The information is free, and there is no pressure. So do it now. That's 800-214-0065. If you face health challenges such as heart disease, arthritis, diabetes, fibromyalgia, depression, infertility, ADD or ADHD, high blood pressure, or one of hundreds of other diseases, help is available. All you have to do is make the call. You have nothing to lose but the pain and suffering. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
Got an old car? You can donate it, whether it's running or not, to the United Breast Cancer Foundation and save a life. They'll even come and pick it up for free. The United Breast Cancer Foundation has saved hundreds of women's lives through their free or low-cost breast screen exams. But now they need your help. The United Breast Cancer Foundation wants to save more lives through early detection by offering women free or low-cost breast screening exams. And donating your old car, SUV, or truck, whether it's running or not, helps pay for them. Plus, you get a charitable tax deduction. Help the United Breast Cancer Foundation save lives by donating your old car, SUV, or truck. Call now for free pickup. 800-280-2144. 800-280-2144. 800-280-2144. Call right now. That number again is 800-280-2144.
How's your golf game? Meet Pat Wheeler, host of Texas Links on the Air.
The thing I love about golf, it's the discussions are never ending. You can talk about anything and it's interesting. The clothes, the courses, the instruction, the equipment, and the people who play, of course. The quote of the year so far, Dr. Lemack, he said, I'll be 110 days. I think I'll get a Hershey bar and go hit some balls. That's what we talk about on Texas Links on the Air. Don't miss it.
Texas Links on the Air, Saturday mornings at 8 on 1160 AM, KBDT. Today.
I've got to admit, it's getting better, a little better, all the time.
If you'd like to get better, call Ann right now. 214-810-8255. 214-810-TALK. Now more with Ann Beal on 1160 AM, KBDT.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. We want to shout out a hi to Otto and Ava. Thank you so much for
in the UK
plugging in with us today. Good to see you guys.
How you doing, Otto and Ava? They're Nikki's kids.
All right. Welcome.
How's it going?
Also want to say hi to Ray Maldonado. He's one of the upper-level executive guys with In-N-Out Burger. We thought we might have him on the program today, but guess what?
He just told us to drop around there at 2 o'clock and pick up a free one.
That's right. I heard that. Came over the air.
Right. He's having a big 50 years with In-N-Out Burger, high-level executive with them. 50 years. Started out in washing dishes or something like that, and anyway, he's retiring today, and we have the privilege of attending a big bash for him tonight to celebrate all that. So
congratulations,
anyway,
Mr. Maldonado.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry we're not coming, mate. Don't worry about us. Greg and I are fine.
we may bring him along anyway. I'm sure you wouldn't mind.
I love the fries.
There you go. Hey, I want to mention John's book. I'd mentioned it a couple of times, but Dr. John A. King, #Deal With It, Living Well with PTSD. One of the things I like most about your book, John, is that you just kind of you take a more of a casual approach to it. You tell your story. It's not like you have a particular agenda. You don't. And you've said that this is not the kind of self-help stuff that you might be looking for if you pick up my book, right? It's different from that, and yet, good night, the help that people they must get when they hear your story and see what happened to you.
Well, what I tried to do is I tried to recount what I was going through, and it was actually very traumatic. Healing to write it because I took myself through, what was it like when I had total recall and my marriage was imploding and having these visions of these orgies and the things that were done to me 24/7. I couldn't get out of my inability to sleep. And so how did I cope with that? Because if I was trying to cope with that then and I learned some things, there's someone somewhere, like when you would wake up in the middle of the night, that needs to know that that's okay, you know, that we go through that, but also here's how that fella did with it. And it would give them, I was hoping, like a little benchmark or a little pebble, so here's a way. So the book is not linear. It's not chronologically accurate. It's more an evolution of how I became whole. And you would know with PTSD, you seem to take 2 steps forward and 85,000 steps backward, and then you crawl forward. And I remember the day that I made the decision, instead of trying to walk forward, I would fall forward. Because then I realized if I fell forward, I was 6 feet further from where I was, and I could just crawl to my feet, and the likelihood of falling again was less. And so that gave me permission to just do these small things.
Yeah.
And that's what the book tries to capture, is that I'm still a work in progress, and give yourself to do that. But here are the things that I found work. And treat it like a smorgasbord. Take and pick the things that you like, discard it, and add to it, because that's what I did.
What happens, I think, with your book, John, in particular, people read this. I think people would have hope for themselves, really, and what can happen to them as they read about what happened to you, because you're very open and honest about. You'll say I have 30 good days and 1 bad day, and then we move on. You have provided a really great opportunity for people to learn how to do that, how to move through their stuff. We want to begin focusing a little bit more specifically on the issue of PTSD. I wanted that to be a major portion of our show today, and because both of you guys have experienced that in huge ways. And here's an interesting thing. Most people who hear the show know that Ann and I have the counseling practice, the coaching practice, and I've known through the years that when I start to focus in on something, in other words, in my studies, in my research, and my reading or whatever, God has a way of bringing people to me who need to know what I know. And it's just the most amazing thing. And I was asked to teach a university course in stress and anger management. I did that, and then all of a sudden I have all these guys with severe anger issues coming to me to say, what do I do? And stress and all that kind of thing. And after I met you guys, and you guys came into my life virtually at the same time, and so
Sorry about that.
No.
That's a bit overwhelming.
Not looking for an apology. It's a wonderful thing. It's a blessing. But the thing is, now I find that I have guy after guy after guy coming to me in our office, either saying, I have PTSD, what do I do?
Wow.
Or they'll say, these are the issues that are going on with me. These are the symptoms that I have. And they'll line up they'll say, I depression, I have anxiety, I feel like people are looking over my shoulder and wondering what I'm thinking, or they want to know what I'm doing, and I have insomnia, I can't sleep, I have fear of social situations, I can't go to a Ranger game, I break out in a cold sweat, I rage all the time, and I don't even know when it's coming. And I'm thinking, oh, well, okay, I kind of think maybe I know what's going on with you, right? And so I've got these guys coming. People want to know what this is and what to do about it. So maybe you guys can help us with that.
Well, I will tell you that I like to keep things very, very simple.
That's good.
In my positions, whether it's antiterrorism, counterterrorism, if I can identify the threat, then I can come up with a solution to deal with the threat.
Good point.
Okay, so I keep it really, really simple. And if we're looking at the threat of what PTSD and what it brings, is it brings a lot of shame, it brings a lot of guilt, it brings isolation from an impacted event. So if I can understand that threat, what is it that I can do? I'll keep it really simple, is I have found the most healing. I don't know that I'll ever get completely over it, but I'm becoming at peace with it, so I can live. The biggest thing is being in relationships that you can trust people to be able to start to communicate about it, and ultimately to have that relationship with God in heaven. That's
connection sounds huge.
The connection is
right.
It's huge, and I've been scarred by some significant things. I'll share one thing with you. So, 2 weeks on the pile, I look down and I see a $100 bill covered in dried blood. I pick it up and I look at it. It says, "In God We Trust." Here's a U.S. American currency. Some Americans' blood on this $100 bill, and
now you're talking about 9/11, right? The site.
On the pile.
Yeah. That's what you mean by the pile.
The responders out there, they know what I'm talking about.
They know.
So, 9/11.
Yeah.
So I look down and I see this, and it completely crushes me because, one, I love my country. I'm a patriot.
Yep.
But at that point, I am I'm hearing 3,000 Americans below me crying out, and it was very trauma to me. But it put me on a different trajectory that was good in a sense. So what I will say is, it doesn't matter what you're going through, the wounding and everything that you have. Coming back and finding those people that you can open up and begin to expose your heart and find healing, or the beginning of healing, is the biggest thing that I've done.
Wow. Thanks, Greg.
Let me show you Facebook and Instagram. Here's my latest T-shirt. My PTSD does not equal postal. And speaking to your point of shame, I think there really is, there's a massive stigma around mental health as it is. And every time there's a shooting or there's a stabbing or there's something, the first thing they do is they identify mental health, and more than likely they somehow are going to wrangle in post-traumatic stress disorder. And that means that, and someone was talking about after this last horrific shooting that happened, how, it's PTSD and the red flag laws, that's why This Is Red came out and they did all that. And here's my thought, I actually believe that our veterans with PTSD, or our law enforcement with PTSD, statistically, they're more likely, veterans, 30 a day, to take their own life than to go out and engage in a mass shooting. Right. And yet our veterans or anyone else with PTSD, they want to disarm us. They want to point the finger at us and give us another layer of actually isolating us, instead of realizing that we are more in contact with what we feel and what we go with than some hopped up kid on some sort of opioid.
Right.
I think we have to confront the shame and the stigma. And in a sense, you were talking earlier on about being prepared to talk about it. I think we have to.
Yes.
And I remember going to a dentist. When I was 11, I was taken to a dentist. He was a sadist, and he pulled my teeth out without any stuff. And I woke up with semen on my face and all over me and stuff like that. So I have a problem going to the dentist, and it's like a legitimate problem going to the dentist.
Yeah.
And when I went through all this, I would hold my breath, I would go, and then the last time I went to a dentist, I thought, forget it. I'm not going to increase my stress. So I went in there, he was a nice old guy, and I said, "G'day, doctor. My name's John King, and when I was 11, I was sexually abused by a dentist, pulled my teeth out, masturbated, and put semen all over my face. So I have a real problem going under and being in a dentist. I just want to let you know."
Right.
And I'd like my wife to be here, and I won't take any opioids, thanks very much. And he looked all shocked.
Yeah.
But what he did was, he didn't make allowances for me, but he took into condition what I'd been through. So inside, I allowed my scars of shame to turn into medals of honours. It's like, I'm not inflicting this on someone, but if I need a little bit of consideration, and that starts with me saying, okay, I need to talk to someone, get over my embarrassment and put this out there, then I think we're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And I think we should do that, because that gives everybody else who doesn't have the platform you have of being an author, television star, all that sort of stuff, you've got a platform. And if you're not being bold in giving people permission, then who's the girl or the guy that don't have that platform?
Absolutely. And that is, you said it brilliantly. And I will tell you that what I call that is pressing into the pain. Because until you press into the pain and through the pain, you'll never get past the pain and being able to go back to living in joy. And so absolutely what you're saying is true.
Awesome. What's that shirt you have? Yeah, you have a shirt saying something like, I enjoy my demons, or something like that. What is that?
Sometimes I wrestle with my demons, and sometimes we cuddle.
There you go. That's John's way. The brilliant John A. King, PhD.
They're on our website if you want one. Wear this. You know what it does for you? Like, people move out of your way in shopping centres. They see it with PTSD is not postal, and they go, stay away from the crazy guy. You know what I mean?
Well, what about, is there, I guess I'm wondering, is there a difference? What difference would there be between post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, what we're talking about, and some other maybe degree of trauma? Or maybe there's no real difference. I don't know. I think maybe some people have different levels of the symptoms or something. I mean, is there a way of determining whether I have PTSD and or not, or what do people do about that?
So It's simple. It's PTSD, post-traumatic stress, trauma after an event. That will normally last for about 6 to 8 weeks, maybe 6 months. I know Melissa had a car accident, and she had a fear of driving for about 6 or 8 weeks, but after that, she found herself managing it, rethinking it, working it through. If that had still been around after 6 months, and that would have become, they call it classified as a disorder.
Okay.
Or whatever the new classification, but it is this thing. So it's the ability long-term for the brain to process memories and to file them accordingly. I often think of it like a filing cabinet. And with things like a grizzly attack, you've got car crash, you've got, stress financially, unable to find the bill, and then you've got going out for a walk one day and being mauled close to death by a very large brown furry animal. You really can't file that in great holiday experiences.
Right.
Or like 9/11, you can't.
Right.
And what I see PTSD is like it's a stack of papers on your desk, and sometimes the window of life opens up and blows that crap everywhere.
Oh, wow.
And then you just run around, and that's that time of panic and trying to do it, and you put it down, and sometimes you're going to reshuffle it. And I don't think it ever goes away. We get better to keeping the window down.
Yeah.
But I think that's how I view PTSD as opposed to just trauma.
Ann and I checked out some of your YouTube videos last night, and we had before that too. But one of the things that you mentioned, just a metaphor, you said having PTSD and trying to live one day at a time. It's like having all these stacks of files and papers on your desk at the end of the day, and you can't get to them right now. And so what you're going to do is you're just going to take and shove them all off onto the floor, and you'll do it tomorrow or something. And so there's more stuff than you can handle, and so you just do it that way.
What I'm interested in reading Greg's book, and the next beer, and probably the third one we'll get to it, because with what he went through as a kid, then with 9/11, and then so the focus of this book is the grizzly, but that's not where this thing started for him.
Okay. Exactly.
And that for me,
it's like an onion, right?
Yeah,
you got to peel it back.
How does that work? Because 9/11, mate, that is. You brought
well, and like I was saying earlier, Greg, your life in some ways has been filled with trauma because you've gone from one huge traumatic event to another, and you're always waiting for the next one around the corner, right? And so, how does a guy deal with that? And I know you talk about community, and that's really important, And we got about a couple of minutes left here before we go to our last break, but so anyway, I don't want to get into that so much that we don't have time to follow up on it or anything. But so there are a number of questions left. One of the things we know is important for people who think they may have PTSD and trying to work through it is community, drawing someone to themselves that they can share their story with, and a trustworthy person. So stay where you are. Get right back to it.
Say we're not getting any younger, but many thousands have felt younger after a few short months using Dr. Wallach's all-natural longevity nutritional supplements. How many times have you said one of these days I need to call Dr. Wallach and find out what I need? Well, make that day today. Here's how to get that information. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down and make the call. The information is free and there is no pressure, so do it now. That's 800-214-0065. If you face health challenges such as heart disease, arthritis, diabetes, fibromyalgia, depression, infertility, ADD or ADHD, high blood pressure, or one of hundreds of other diseases, help is available. All you have to do is make the call. You have nothing to lose but the pain and suffering. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. You've been listening to Dr. Wallach, and I bet you have some questions. We want to help. And here's how you can get the answers. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down and make the call right now. Don't wait any longer to find out how Dr. Wallach's own all-natural nutritional supplements by Youngevity can help you. Are you concerned with reducing your risk of heart disease, cancer, stroke, or high blood pressure? Help is available. Do you have arthritis, sore joints, lower back pain, or fibromyalgia? Call now. Dr. Wallach creates his own formulation so you can be sure that what is on the label is actually in the bottle. Whatever your health challenge, make this call. Thousands like you have seen results for a happier, healthier life. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Call today, 800-214-0065. Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just 2 of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
Looking for a great meal at one of the best restaurants in North Texas? Head to the Delta Hotel by Marriott Dallas Allen and Waters Creek Convention Center in Allen, where celebrity chef Stephen Piles brings his delicious twist to true Texas cuisine at their signature restaurant, Stampede 66. From incredible steaks and tasty sides to delicious desserts, Stampede 66 has it all. The Delta Hotel by Marriott in Allen also has casual dining and great craft cocktails at the Canyon Bar. Don't have game tickets? You won't miss a play when you and your friends watch on Delta's 18-foot screen outside on the patio by the pool. Check the Delta's website for special events, including stand-up comedy nights and live music. From gourmet Texas food at Stampede 66 to a snack by the pool on the patio, the Delta Hotel by Marriott with the Canyon Bar and Stampede 66 in Allen is the place to meet for great food, fun, and entertainment. 777 Waters Creek Boulevard in Allen. That's Stampede 66 at the Delta Hotel by Marriott in Allen. 469-675-0800. 469-675-0800.
To admit it's getting better, a little better all the time.
You're getting better all the time. Now back to Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
Ann is still out there watching us from the sound booth. Ann, hello, Ann. Hello, Christy. Hello, everybody back there. I have Greg J. Matthews with me. Dr. John A. King is with me, and we're talking about trauma, PTSD, and kind of surviving. Greg, we talked about something during the break, and that was that you're in a position where, because of what you do, what you're responsible for, you actually have had decades, really, of trauma, one thing right after another, because it's your work. It's what you do, right?
Yes.
And so we were wondering, John, you and I were talking about what does a person do? How are we affected by it when it just happens all the time? You're in a position where actually you're looking for the next foot to drop, right, with this stuff.
Yeah, it's. I want to thank you. Thank you for having me on here. And you know my heart. My heart is for first responders, military,
right.
Emergency managers. I've spent the last pretty much 35 years trying to do what I can to protect and defend the people and our country. I've been involved in antiterrorism, counterterrorism, and that's currently one of my roles. But what I will tell you is that the 21 years in the fire department that I spent, I was there on everybody's worst day. Mm-hmm. And you see every single way that people can die and the suffering and the impact. And I believe that first responders, law enforcement, police, anti-terrorism, counterterrorism professionals, they literally are willing to trade a piece of who they are for each traumatic event that they go through. They're trying to make a difference in somebody's life. And so after a while, you end up not only trading away who you are, so it becomes difficult to even process life, but it actually, you begin to take responsibility and blame yourself for the things that you weren't able to make a difference in, like the World Trade Center. That pushed me into a different trajectory from just not response, but also prevention. And that was a good thing. But what I wore was the fact that I wasn't able to do anything to prevent that, and the guilt and everything that came along with it impacted me and still continues to impact me over my life. And so once again, I go back to keeping things very simple. Mm-hmm. I have found the ability to love myself, finally.
Wow.
And that has been the most healing factor in dealing with the PTSD. Mm-hmm. I was never able to give myself a break to allow myself to say, Greg, you cannot rescue, you cannot save everybody. And I never let myself do that. So
I think, can I just jump in there, buddy?
Absolutely.
I think it's giving yourself a break in that context, and also giving yourself a break when you're in the process of getting well, because we will fail at this thing. We will make mistakes at this thing. And I think the lessons you learn there are the lessons you have to carry forward. You come home days from work and you'll be stressed out, and you won't react well. Or, I remember once I was out with Melissa and we walked into a candle shop, I think it was on our honeymoon, and I smelled a fragrance and it reminded me of what was done to me as a child.
Oh, wow.
And I just lost it. And it's not her fault. It's not. And you'll have those things that'll just set things off.
Yes.
A lot of vets, a lot of coppers talk about, the fireworks, the other bits and pieces. And I'm sure, every time you hear a fire truck goes by, it rattles your bell.
Yes.
And so I think that need to be comfortable with who you are and where you're up to. And I talk about it in my book. It's we spend all our life being told to live from the outside in. And I think we have to come to a terms where we have to live from the inside out.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to talk to Greg about, over a beer sometime, is because at some point, and I think that's what you're saying, and I'm looking forward to Wild Awakening, it's when you had to come to peace with who you were and comfortable with who you were, that everything else started to fall into place.
It absolutely was that, and fell into place, and finding out that not only my dad in heaven, but my dad on earth actually loved me even when I was convinced that they didn't love me because of, whatever it was, being unable to do anything that would please them. It was performance-driven, and that was just from a wounding that came from as a kid.
Yeah.
Okay. We haven't talked too much about triggers. There are a bunch of other things we haven't talked about yet. We've only got 60 seconds left. But let me just say to everybody who's out there who came today and who was willing to and desired to hear what we had to say, thank you for listening in. We really, really appreciate you as a listening audience. And thank you so much for giving up your seat to me and allowing us to take over your spot here. But it's been wonderful. It has been so fun to be with these guys. I tell you, just in talking about this stuff, I feel close to you, and I've known you before this time, of course. But and if you had something to say to your audience, what would you say? Oh, wow. He's going to be on next week. Oh, my gosh. Justin Packshaw, Mount Everest climber, on Ann's program next week. Getting Better with Ann Beal and with Justin Packshaw. Thanks, guys, for coming.
Pleasure,
Appreciate you so much. Let's do it again.
Buy Greg's book. He's awesome. See you Instagram. See you Facebook.